What are you, a cat? Bitch up.
Travis is like, she is the worst dog of all time. She's just a cat. She doesn't protect the house. She doesn't do anything.
She's a trans cat.
She's trans species.
We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing programs beyond the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you From, sometimes we give you Silo, sometimes we give you The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, sometimes we give you House of the Dragon, sometimes we give you other things that you probably don't even want. But most times, all times, we go deep.
I'm your host, David Cammy, and I'm joined by Bridget, aka Punky Brewster, who you can find on ko-fi.com/Punky Brewster. That's PUNKYBRUISCTER. And if you're wondering why I spoke like that, well, Bridget's not feeling so great. She wasn't able to attend the Walking Dead Daryl Dixon discussion because she was all up in that sickness. And this is the aftermath.
I
Bridget
now
without a
sound
voice.
like this. This is how I sound now.
To be fair, I'm just going to defend myself here. You know, I'm not always comfortable being the villain on this podcast. I did ask Bridget permission if I could use that as the intro beforehand.
Fine. It's fine. I know I sound ridiculous. It's fine.
Yes, the part of the normal voice will be me, and Bridget will add color commentary with a raspiness.
Yep.
Use it to your advantage, Bridget. I think there's going to be some parts where that will be applicable.
I like the stage after this where my voice is still like a little bit raspy, but I can actually talk. But this is the worst
Right. Oh,
part.
that's the sexy housewife
I
voice,
like that
right?
voice. Trav, I always tell Trav, I'm like, I wish I had a raspy voice because I grew up next to this girl a year or two older than me, and she had a raspy voice naturally, and I thought she just sounded so cool.
Agreed.
I don't even
and it's not
remember
even
her
like
name.
cigarette smoking.
No, it was just that was her voice.
Right.
And
It's
so
just the way her voice
I always tell
was.
Travis, I'm like, man, I wish I had a raspy voice. And he's like, I don't.
Oh, really? I thought he would say, I do too.
No, he's
This
like,
is
he
really
likes
hot.
my voice. He doesn't want me to be raspy.
Some of our episode discussions are sometimes in the morning. And when that happens, you'll hear the froggy voice. My voice has a deeper register than normal. And sometimes I'll do the ASMR where it's like, hey, everybody, it's your friend Dave Cameo. And yeah, it's like pronouncedly baritone
That's
almost.
NPR voice.
Well, that's more like, hey, everybody, my name is David Cameo. That's not like that at all. It's more of like everything's a bit more sexy and Barry White for some reason. I don't know why, but that's just the way it works with me. My voice will also do this thing. If I ever lose my voice, and I have lost my voice on this podcast before, not because of it, but just as a result of being in life and doing a podcast and having the show go on, my voice does this thing where it gets to the raspy part, but when it starts to recover, I sound like Harvey Firestein. And that's such a generational gap, by the way.
I don't know who you're talking
Nobody
about.
will know the sweet dulcet tones of Harvey Firestein.
He sounds like that, and that's what I sound like.
I normally know what you guys are talking about, but as the youngest, I can definitely confirm I do not know what you're talking about.
Just do a YouTube search of Harvey Firestein.
I thought
Spit
you were
and you'll
going to say
find
that you
exactly
sounded
the
like
voice
Bruce
I'm talking about.
Valanche.
So
To some degree,
the
it's
similarity is not all that different, by the way. So Bruce Valanche, Harvey Firestein, very similar. And you know what? Bruce Valanche, probably more accurate. Put that image in your head and we'll move on to talk about what this episode is actually about.
It's actually about From's 4th episode of season 3, titled There and Back Again. A Lord of the Rings reference. How quaint. Sheridan would be proud.
Anyway, it is more of like a
Sheridan would be proud.
it's like kind of like a little bit more forceful, like he's trying to get breath.
He may have been out of
I
it.
don't know what's going on.
I just didn't want to make you feel alone.
Oh,
that's why
It's
I'm doing
fine.
this.
It is what it is. Everybody will.
I feel like I
anybody
am
who
wrecking
listens to
my
this
voice in the
podcast
process,
knows
though.
that this is not how I normally talk. So it's fine.
What if they're tuning in for the first time? They'd be like, "Who is this raspy bitch?"
We love her voice.
Nobody's doing it.
It's sexy,
Maybe there's
and
a
her
few.
husband doesn't like it. I can't figure out why.
Maybe she'll be into me, right? Like, there's always one of those.
No.
No. And they're also named Travis, so it's weird.
That would be weird.
Unless it is Travis.
He like secretly
He
does
just
like it.
decided
He
to be
just
like-
doesn't want to tell me.
My name is also Travis, not your husband.
No.
Come to not my bed. Anyways. Yeah, so we are talking about From's 4th episode of season 3 titled There and Back Again in real voice. What's great about this episode is exactly the thing we try to hopefully get out of most episodes, which is movement.
Yeah.
I felt like a lot of things happened in a short period of time, which means it's even with all the movement, it's still pretty dense. I mean, the whole thing happens within the span of an hour, if that.
It was good.
I would even say.
Yeah. It's like it only progressed halfway through everything.
Through the night, you're saying?
No, I just mean like we talked about like the 4 things that we were waiting on and it progressed them, but it only progressed them halfway.
Oh, right. We're talking specifically about the Victor and Sarah conversation.
Well, no, all
mostly,
of it, like
probably,
Victor and
right?
Sarah, Tabitha coming back.
Oh, your 4 points that we discussed in the last episode.
It was
4
the
or 5.
cabins, Victor and Sarah, Tabitha coming back.
Fatima's.
Oh, the baby, the demon baby.
But we'll talk about that more. Possibly, essentially, Randall and whatever's happening with him. That's maybe another point, which progressed a little bit. Randall, Marielle, Julie.
Oh, yeah.
That's sort of another tangent point. But with respect to that, they did this episode well in light of really pushing those 5 points across a little further, nudging them a little bit further.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think they would have done better to focus a little bit more on the majority of them and not all of them? It feels like now we're moving at a snail's pace.
No, I don't think so. I think this was the right way to do it. It still leaves the suspense built on all fronts.
So it baited
Otherwise,
the
you
hook.
would have given one person who only cared about the one storyline their thing, because some people probably don't care about all of it. But I enjoyed all of it, and I liked that they left it where it was, because it leaves me excited for the next episode.
Yeah, and I suppose kind of like the previous 2 seasons, they have the affordability of spending a little bit more time on all story fronts before things start to get crazy after the second half.
Yeah, I think so.
Which is kind of their formula.
Yeah.
The boulder crosses over the apex and just starts rolling down the hill. Boy, I really did a number on my voice with that impression. I'm like starting to feel it already.
I want to talk about the death count. We had 5 people come in. Tabby, Henry, 2 EMTs, and a cop.
Acosta. Yeah.
I don't know if Tabby counts because she was already there. Anyway, we lose the 2 EMTs. So we're down to 3. We lose Nicky. That makes up room for one of them.
We lost Tien Shen. Unless that was for the baby. I don't know.
No, I think it's too early for that. But now we lost Randall.
Well.
Oh, no.
Well, did we lose
did
Randall?
lose Randall.
Ah,
We didn't lose
see?
Randall. We're owed 1.
We're owed 1 more death.
Well, and I think that might have something to do with the cabins. But I think they're throwing us a red herring with Randall. I think Randall's coming back
Ugh.
essentially to make Boyd feel like crap, because Randall's the person who can make him feel like crap and is going to proceed to not let it go.
On multiple fronts, too, because Randall is annoying on the one hand, just objectively as a person who wasn't affected by this place is annoying.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, still a human life. He was there at the time in the bus with him.
Yep.
He's a human being and he's responsible over everybody.
He went to go help. That's the other thing.
Exactly.
And Boyd still couldn't help him, even though he was doing the right thing. From the monster perspective, I thought it was interesting to pick Randall because objectively, Randall knows the most about them. It's like he knows where they're supposed to be at what time.
You're saying in terms of logistics.
Yeah, he knows the most about them. And if they're going to try to
the
trap
routine.
one, Randall's critical. He has more data than anybody else.
Which then, okay, Bridget, based on what you're saying, is that they heard Boyd and they're saying, oh, you are going to use Randall's information to try to hunt one of us down? Oh, what if we start to take out Randall? Well, we're not going to kill him, but we're going to threaten him. If you try to do this again, I don't know. We'll take the next step, basically. We're going to break you.
We don't know what they know because it seems that they have pieces of information that they really shouldn't. Like Thomas.
Exactly.
Like Tabby being there. How do they know what they know?
Yeah, as far as the Tabby thing goes, do you think maybe Ethan got that phone call right as she was coming? I think right when she was at the tree. Does that make sense?
I think that was supposed to be when it the same. It's interesting. I was just thinking about this last night. When Tabby comes in the first time, she has a head wound. When Tabby comes in the second time.
From the RV.
She has a head wound.
An RV crash.
Again. And it's a crash both times.
Oh my gosh.
I just think it's
Wow.
weird.
I did not think about that, but that is true. That's how this all happened. Well, so wait, just to backtrack, still applies, still impressed, but the crash that leads them to getting into the ambulance happens before the stuck place.
Correct.
The RV crash happens right after they get into the stuck place.
But I just thought it was weird that they both involve crashes and
still
that
impressive.
her head is physically hurt in one way or another, both times.
So basically, Tabby has TBI.
Maybe.
Traumatic brain
Maybe like none of
injury,
this is real.
basically.
It's all in her brain. This is going to be like a Kingdom Hospital story. You know what I mean?
Which, by the way, is a series I still have to watch with earnesty because I've forgotten completely about it.
So I watched it when it started.
Same.
Stephen King miniseries. It was very weird, very surreal. It was written by Stephen King after he was hit by a car and he was in a coma. So the story itself kind of comes from like the weird dissonance and stuff that came from that for him. I was actively obsessed with it when I woke up from my coma. I could not stop talking about it. I hadn't seen it since it had come out. Because here's the thing, folks. They never checked my brain. So there's no knowing if there's any damage in there or not. They never looked.
There's no knowing if I'm still in Kingdom Hospital.
They did an MRI of my heart. They did not check my brain. Arguably.
How elaborate is this delusion? You thought up a podcast. I'm you. I'm telling you what's in your head. I'm not real. There's no David cameo, Bridget.
Wouldn't that be insane?
This is all in your head. Wake up. I have no agency.
That's actively a trend on TikTok right now. And I hate it.
What's that? To convince people that it's a
The wake up
construct, that
trend.
they're living in a simulation?
Like, oh, you died. You
Oh,
died
is
at this
that a
point in
thing?
your life. Wake up. You're not alive anymore. I have to say, as someone who has had a near-death experience, that is one of my least favorite tropes, is you're crazy and you've been in a mental institution the entire time. I actively am fearful of that. I tell Travis all the time, every time we get to an episode of a TV show. Like most recently, it was Deep Space Nine. Cisco has multiple episodes actually where he's in a mental institution. He's like another character in our time. And every time we hit one of those, I was like, I hate this so much. I'm so afraid that this is what is happening to me right now. And he's like, what? And I am terrified that I'm actually crazy. And then my life is not happening.
You're worried that the wormhole ghosts.
My life isn't happening at all.
What happened, not to bring this back to Tabitha, but that's essentially what gets her into this predicament. She feels like and this is one of the first things I said when she came back, the episode before this, she is not even sure that she even is back, which is why she's so cagey and everybody's so pissed at. I'm talking about Rachel and Charity, and everybody's so pissed at her. And I'm like, well, do you blame her?
I don't know.
And then it bears out. She is distrustful. Henry's talking about the bottle tree a couple times, one in their yard, one in the square. And she's like, how can this be?
And what's interesting is that even when she comes back and there's two new people with her, they're like, are you sure that this is Victor's dad? Are you sure that this is real? Because there's some fear on their end. Like,
it is unbelievable.
What new monster did you bring with you? Who are these people really?
Yeah. And well, one of them shot Nicky.
A big deal. Who cares?
They have to be a monster.
Who cares about this character that we literally met twice?
Technically, this episode would be thrice. The first one is where she tells off Fatima. I'm going to say Fatima because, by the way, that's the language of my peoples. Second is when she apologizes. And 3 is this episode. Nikki's a triple threat. She made money. She had words in 3 episodes.
She got paid. Girl got
Nikki's
paid.
fine. The actor who plays Nicky is fine.
She got paid for real.
Just focusing in on Nicky for a little bit, one of the things I noticed was that she kind of went out the same way as Brick did in the top of season 2. I noted that because Brick seemed fine. He was okay, and then all of a sudden blood started pouring out of his mouth.
The kid under the house. I'm like, who is Brick? Yeah.
I would have explained it if you didn't remember. Yes, the kid that was trapped under the house with Randall and Jim. Is it Randall and Jim? No, sorry.
It's Jim
it was
and Tom.
And Jim. Randall managed to get out at the top of the basement stairs, but it was Tom, Brick, and Jim. And Brick was at the top of the stairs yelling out all the time. We were pissed off at him for some reason because we're like, please stop. We know better than you. You don't. For some reason, we're trying to yell at you. You're not hearing us.
He got Tom killed.
Literally, I can't help but yell at him And yet I know logically that, not that he can't hear us. First of all, I knew that, but logically he doesn't know this place, just like Officer Acosta doesn't know this place. But yeah, he dies in a similar fashion. He starts coughing up blood and dies suddenly. No rhyme or reason. Everybody says, oh, it's internal injuries. Sure. No, this place needed to make room and found an excuse, basically. Same thing with Nicky.
I think they do die of their injuries. But yeah, they die because there needs to be space. I don't know. They've never confirmed that.
Right.
This is just my wild theory.
You know what? I'm willing to take the hit on this for a place that manages to heal people miraculously in a short period of time. The fact that it accelerates the demise of people who seem to be okay at the time, but suddenly take a turn. Yeah, no, I'm taking that leap. This place desires certain people to remain and other people to not remain, basically.
I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was great. I thought it gave us some really nice moments, some really spooky moments. It didn't leave me yelling at the end of the episode or anything. We got movement on what we will now refer to as all 5 storylines. And I'm excited to see where those storylines go. Like I said, it created enough momentum that you're like, you are waiting now for the next episode.
Yeah, for the next shoe to drop from one of the 5.
To know, like,
and
what
some
happens,
of them are combined too. So.
What happens? Is Randall going to be okay? Is he not going to be okay? Is the cop going to herself because she can't handle it?
Pull an Abby even?
Yeah.
I felt like when she started going, this can't be real. This isn't real. I felt like, oh, there's an Abby in there. Maybe. I don't know. Abby Stevens, by the way, Boyd's wife.
Are they going to have something happen at the cabins, which inevitably I think they're alluding to? There's some noise going on, but we didn't go back to it. So now we don't know if they're okay or not.
Same with the first time.
We did get some
Jim
Movement
and
on
Kenny were in the cabins.
Victor's story enough to really go like, we've seen that dummy. It was down in the caves.
Callback. Yeah. I have to say, I bet the Foley guy that made the yell voice from the dummy is really proud of him or herself, because it's terrifying. That ventriloquist dummy, when it yells out, goes, right? It's so good.
It was terrifying.
So they're like, I'm going to milk this for all it's worth.
It was terrifying.
This sound is gold, folks. You press a button.
It's funny because when I came home, Trav was watching Buffy because I've been on him to watch it since we got married, because The Walking Dead is arguably my favorite TV show. But in a time before The Walking Dead, Buffy was my favorite TV show from the time I was like 16, 17 until, I don't know, my mid to late 20s. I watched it again and again. I bought the comic books that continue the stories.
Oh, wow.
Half of my comic book collection is Buffy comics, as I bought them single issue as they were coming out. Anyway, when I came home, he was watching. We started it months ago, but he just started it again. And it was the ventriloquist dummy episode with Sid the dummy. It's a demon hunter that's placed under a curse and he becomes a ventriloquist dummy. And Trav the whole time is just like, goosebumps, did this better. Like,
really?
Are you
okay?
Goosebumps
So we found the weakness.
Did ventriloquist dummies right? It's not a super strong Buffy episode, but he's a likable character. And if anyone is a Buffy fan, then maybe you would know this is like a deep cut. But in, 2002, maybe, there was a GameCube game that was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Chaos Bleeds is what it was called. It was an alternate universe video game. It came out with a comic book, which I believe I still have an issue of somewhere. It like kind of set up the crossover of the dimensions melding. Anyway, Sid comes back in the video game. And that was exciting for like...
Still dummy?
Oh, yeah. But like for people who loved the show, it was a big deal.
So now we're going to start to deal on this show with a dummy that seemed to have a full-fledged conversation with Christopher.
Oh, yeah. It's the same concept.
And Victor asserts that
if we ask him, he'll tell us.
We're going to be able to find answers. Yeah. Exactly, which I'm glad he picked Sara for this, because for a person who was hearing voices earlier, I guess that makes sense.
I both loved and hated that interaction. For Sara, because they've manipulated me into feeling bad for her. He says, like, my mom and sister died, but I didn't murder them. And you're like, oh, Jesus,
right.
Dude.
But what I liked about her was she was like, not taking really offense, feeling bad, obviously, but not taking offense, because that's just the way he talks.
And she is what happened, whether or not it was intentional. She did murder her brother.
Sure. But it softens the blow to know that that's how he is. And she's okay with it. Because, which is a sharp contrast from how when people first meet Victor, how they are. Kind of getting the sense that he's a little off, but reacting very negatively against it. She gets it immediately. She's okay with it. And that is a comfort.
Well, she's been around.
Because I don't need anybody getting in Victor's face.
Than anybody else that we've known.
Yeah.
As much as the other townspeople, I should say.
Yeah, exactly. Not Colony House.
Why am I the one who's here for this? And he's like, you're the scariest person I know. That had to cut deep. They live in a monster town. And he's like, you're the scariest person I know.
And she's the she's the scariest person he knows.
But it's like he didn't go with toughest. He didn't ask Boyd. He didn't ask Donna. He asked Sara because he's like, she's terrifying.
Well, maybe in his own simple worded way, maybe that's his way of saying that you survived the criticism from everybody else to come out somewhat on the other side of that. So maybe that's sort of what he means, that you could come from wanting to kill yourself to... I
don't know.
Maybe I'm putting words in his mouth.
I'm not sure, but I thought it was interesting because you're like, okay, I like that she went along with it when he needed the encouragement. She's like, well, I'm the scariest person you know, and I'm not scared. So let's keep going.
Right.
And I thought that was nice. I know she's trying to like make up for what happened. It was a kindness she maybe didn't have to pay.
I was looking at my notes and I was looking at the part where Nicky's actually cleaning up the blood from the crow that bounces around the house until it beats itself to death on the wall. And back to chastising both Nicky for not doing it, but for like, no, ew, I'm not picking up the crow, but also says, Tilly, you shouldn't be doing tarot in this freaky place. It's one of those things where, is Nicky the target because of the blood? Because I really want to open up this conversation with Fatima. Basically, Nicky was mean to Fatima. Nicky does end up apologizing, but
does the demon
there
baby.
Was a bit of static when she was suffering. Well, so you say it's the demon baby, but I'm starting to think it is really just Fatima. This is really not to focus on Nicky too much, but it is to backtrack on something that I said in our recap of season 2 when it came to the mummy monster with the kimono. Mm-hmm. The drowning lady, but that is desiccated.
She's back.
But is also wearing a kimono. That is torturing Elgin, basically.
Elgin's friend.
Now, I need to bring this back because one of the things I said was, well, and you guys didn't immediately said the moon wears pants. This is absolutely crazy. You did say it, but I'm starting to believe that maybe there is something to what I'm saying, because what I had said basically was that what if this is some sort of iteration of Fatima?
Dave, I would give you that if it was affecting Nicky, but it's not. It's affecting Elgin. And that's why I don't think that that's the case.
Let's put the Nicky part aside. I just was using Nicky as an entry point into this piece of the episode that we could touch on and quickly move away, but that I had said it was Fatima in some sort of iteration. She's wearing a kimono. She has similar style of dress, similar color hair-ish. If she's constantly wet in the hair, maybe that's how, I don't know. There is a theory on Reddit that coincides with what I'm saying and what the theory is. And I really like this theory. And if I have the link, because it's not an original thought, there's a weird thing about the Reddit community regarding From. It's called r/From series. They seem to get together and really start vibing on their input. This is just such a stark contrast from r/The Walking Dead, r/Fear the Walking Dead, etc. This community is so tight and they're so into each other's theories. It's so great to see. Nice. But at the same time, they're belting out things that I've already said. And it's making me pissed off that I'm not more involved to say, hey, wait, I said that in the couple episodes ago. They brought up the Indiana paper that I brought up in the episode with the link.
You talked about that last week.
Mother effer, I did that already. But I didn't say anything.
I told you to say something. I'm not that guy. Be like, I talked about this on my podcast. You guys should listen. We covered From.
Here's the date, the published date of this podcast, guys. Anyway, so what they've been saying about this mummy creature is that, and strap on your safety belts, or at least the belt of your moon that wears pants, because what they're saying is, number one, they're saying Elgin is Fatima and Ellis's baby.
I know. Someone said that on one of our videos.
2, that the mummy, kimono wearing mummy, is Fatima, and she's asking for help. In this episode, Fatima starts eating the blood, and we're starting to believe maybe that she's turning into one of these monsters. Is that where we're all at right now?
So she's turning into something, and it ain't normal.
And there's a lot of imagery in this episode when Victor talks about the day everybody died, and they do focus in on the gutted out tummies, the tummy, which is what Fatima is digging into, Nicky's namely. So that's not on purpose. And we always sort of strafed across the idea of what do the monsters do when they're gutting these people out and ripping them apart. It seems to be always the hollowed out insides, the guts, for some reason. We didn't really take that too far because we didn't really have much to go on other than the fact that it's that. Maybe there is something to these creatures needing organ meat for some reason from dead people, ideally, I guess. I feel like we laid that out, but how is this even possible? I also want to note that Elgin is wearing the crow shirt this episode. The one that I spotted out that he wore in season 2 when he was in the tub and a couple of episodes in that season. Now, for that to even happen, he'd have to be entering this town from another time. And if he is coming in from another time, is it one of those things where the other people on the bus didn't notice him until he popped into the scene? Or is this bus from another time?
Well, Brick was his friend. They had been talking on the bus.
Interesting.
So that they at least had talked on the bus. I assumed they had known each other prior to that, but I didn't really know.
Or they were talking on the bus prior to that, so it's not like he popped in there unnoticed.
No. And also, Marielle's on the bus, and that would be a lot.
Oh, it would be a lot. You're right.
Had Tabitha bothered to look everybody up from the town while she was back in the real world, maybe we would know if that was the case or not. But she didn't.
Right. You know, it's weird. One of the things that Charity and I pointed out is something we saw in the episode was the bottle tree contains bark or maybe even paper with a date on it or a year, 1400 something or whatever it is. Again, perhaps strafing across Moonware's pants. What if the bottle tree could take you to a different point in time? And if that's the case, would it be far-fetched for Fatima and Ellis's baby to end up in the past to arrive in the present?
I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
No, I know. But these are things that we have to throw out there in case, you pick up on that and there's something there.
Has he never spoken about his parents?
He spoke about his grandmother who raised him. Remember the crocheting grandmother at church?
Yeah.
And one more bit of evidence, as far as we know it, the bus driver from the Michigan bus, Bacta, did say, what does my grandmother's nursery rhyme have to do with this place? Why was it helpful in figuring out this place? Elgin has the same nursery rhyme from his dream. Well, and what if Bacta is another one of Ellis and Fatima's kids? I don't know at all.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. And that would be like a really big jump.
How would she know about that? And it could be one of the other people from this town somehow got out and some other, or maybe a future person that comes into town that ends up in the past and then makes it so that Bacta has to be here. I don't know. It's just food for thought as we move forward because Boyd does pull one of the bottles down and it does have a date on it. So
yeah, it does. But to me, that just proves that this place had been around for a long time.
Well, yeah, ostensibly, right? You're looking at these things and, it represents points of time in this. Yeah. The people were here, basically.
You just would need more data.
Let me just say what Charity said in the chat. Charity says, Ray needs to design us a tattoo of the moon wearing pants. Let's just start with a t-shirt and move our way up. And we can make temporary tattoos, by the way. She asks, who is Nicky? Nicky is the woman who told Fatima off in one of the other episodes because she was throwing up and hogging bathroom time. She apologizes later because, we're just on edge because we were starving.
But her apology
and then she
was
gets shot in this episode. Sincere on the surface, but what lies beneath is insincerity. And then she gets shot. So now we feel bad about that.
I don't.
It's like we willed it. And Charity says, the more you talk, the more I'm glad I quit this show. Well, that's probably my fault more than anything else, Charity. So these are just theories that are not just my theories.
They're floating around.
Just to kind of give myself cover.
Yeah. No,
they did tie into something that I noticed maybe about season 2.
Because I have not been on Reddit to look at the From thread.
I just like the fact that it's interesting that this community does tend to get excited rather than not and start taking each other down. It's a stark contrast from what I'm used to. So it's pretty cool. Oh, well, and Charity's qualifying her comment about quitting the show. She says, no, I can tell that they're not answering questions and adding more mystery.
Actually, we did get some answers.
There's movement on the mystery itself. let's say with Fatima, as far as that goes. The pica escalated to could be iron deficiency. Again, we're talking about blood, and blood has a lot of iron in it, I guess,
It
or
does.
something, or plasma, maybe plasma deficiency, platelets. Could be a bunch of things that she's dealing with. Again, Sharon D brings up vampires, vampire aliens in space, or
Yeah,
something
I had
like that.
said it was
I don't know.
Plan 9 from outer space. Same thing.
Well, maybe that's what all this was.
That's all it is. Bella Lugosi will show up later.
Thomas on the phone.
Whoever it is has knowledge, but that's really all we know. Oh, and the phone's not hooked up to anything.
Right, which is another note, like the power lines. But another thing to note is that it follows the same pattern of, is it a threat or is it just information that is done in a spooky way? Oh, Victor kind of confirms that Eloise dies. This is one of those points of contention that we had regarding Eloise. Does he really know? And maybe she's the lady in the woods with the cabins that made the scarecrows.
She runs out and leaves him even though he says not to. And when he comes out, everyone is dead. That's what he says. But I don't know that he talks about burying her. He talks about burying his mother.
Well, he says in this episode, and that's why my mother and Eloise died.
But we don't know because we didn't see him see her body.
It's the TWD thing. It's we didn't see a body,
No
so
one's
I
gone
guess
till they're
Eloise is still in the
gone.
wind. Oh, thanks, Morgan. the raspiest Morgan ever.
It was such a good impression.
Yeah, it was great. It was tops. I could see a point of contention with people being frustrated with Fatima again this episode, Rachel. But she doesn't say this, but I'm just putting words in her mouth.
She did say a couple things about the episode, actually. She said, I didn't completely hate this episode. It felt slightly more put together. It was heartbreaking to see Donna break down like that.
On my second watch, that actually made me really emotional. It surprised me the first time.
It didn't surprise me.
Well, it took me out of nowhere. I was expecting, because I was just expecting
Oh,
the
I thought she
usual
was going
stick.
to ream out
Boyd, I'm going to yell at you for the usual thing for no reason.
I mean, she lost another person. She's already been on like the cusp of like, I can't handle this. I'm not doing a good job as a leader. And then Tian Chen died just recently. It's been like 2 days, maybe.
Tian Chen was kind of like the glue between the two communities, really, especially after the fall of Colony House the first time. Yep. And maybe she feels like it's happening all over again, too.
To some degree, probably.
Well, monsters came into the house the first time. Why couldn't it happen the second time? I like seeing this actor get to stretch and flex a little bit more than the usual reaction. And if that's the case, there is a bit of parallelism between Donna and Boyd, because the monsters are working really, really hard to break Boyd. That doesn't mean that they can't do double duty and try to break Donna down even more. I'll say this much. There is a silver lining here. From the start of the series, Boyd and Donna have been at each other's throats. Yeah. They kind of acknowledge each other's positions. They respect each other to a limit, but they desire to run things in their own way.
That started as early as season 1.
Right. Oh, so maybe kind of like Fatima losing hope. They've started to come together, but it's been kind of a rocky road.
Well, once Colony House lost so many people and Donna started to kind of question herself as a leader, I think she started to kind of refer to Boyd then, because she's like, well, he is a strong leader and it's my people who are dying. So I'm going to kind of defer to what Boyd has to say about it. So they've been seeking each other's advice
I still don't like
for
him,
a while.
But the only thing I wanted to say about that to cap it off really is that in the attempt to break down both Donna and Boyd individually, it made them that much closer together. Because if you remember in the last episode, or I think it was episode 2, when she really lets him have it and he tries to reach out to her and she's like, don't touch me. That stuck in my mind. Because in this episode, she really, really breaks down. Instead of yelling at him, she just says, I got nothing, and breaks down. And he reaches out and embraces her. And she doesn't protest. She doesn't push him away. She's like, yes, please, I need this right now. I'm tired of fighting you for no reason. Because you're not the reason. You never were the reason. It's this place. But I put it on you. Do you want me to read Rachel's next words? Just for the sake of, you're a go-getter, Bridget, but save your voice. I knew they weren't going to kill Randall when Boyd drove off. A perfect opportunity to further torture Boyd. Although I really don't understand why he's the focus. Morgan comment aside. Because he is the Morgan of the show. Morgan from Fear the Walking Dead. I was surprised in a way, because I know the monsters are starting to act very creatively lately, now with Smiley Bob gone. And so leaving Randall alive, it's interesting to see that Rachel saw that coming. And I think we could have seen that coming too. First of all, with the cicadas, the wall of cicadas, and the cicadas tackling him, and then the monster surrounding him. You kind of knew something different was going to happen, but I didn't expect this to happen. Them throwing him on the ambulance.
It's almost like, did you put something inside him? Like, is he like a weapon now? I don't know.
Is there a monster inside him? He's going to just like, is he like the bug human from
Men in Black?
Men in Black, thank you. Is he like that? And eventually his skin is going to start slacking off. And
His name was Edgar, Dave, because he says,
and he's going to suddenly start being nicer.
Water.
It's Vincent D'Onofrio, by the way, too.
Yes. And his wife is like, Edgar. That's how she says his name. It kills me.
Just like you're talking now.
Edgar.
You just have to speak normally.
It kills me.
Boy, you're trying to voice. Maybe you're onto something, maybe you're not, but there are pieces of his skin flayed off.
They brought him back, so like, what's the plan? There's something there.
Oh, well, if Randall wasn't already sus, now he's definitely sus to everybody. It's kind of like the Sara effect. Sara, for accidentally killing Nathan, trying to kill Ethan, she was an outsider, and now he is even more of an outsider than he already is.
He's going to blame Boyd for all this, fairly.
And not help him with his monster hunt.
I don't know. We'll just have to see, though.
True, this might embolden him. Randall is pretty stubborn.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Even with everything that he's seen, he's still very determined to get GTFO, whatever it takes. So maybe kind of like the monsters trying to break Boyd and Donna individually, helping them get together. This might break Randall down, but it might still embolden him even further to break out. Next comment that Rachel makes is, I wanted to hear more of Victor's story. It was just getting interesting and terrifying. Your girl does not like dolls, especially ventriloquist dummies.
Me neither.
I'm more partial to clowns than dolls.
Oh.
Your boy will admit.
Clowns are my number one, but dolls are close enough.
Living dolls? I mean, for a robot, I hate robots.
I will admit that I'm terrified of like AI and stuff. I'm afraid of robots becoming sentient.
It's the whole Ghost in the Machine. Like, what is it? And then they move all robotically. At least C-3PO did when I was a child. So what is that? Anyway, so it kind of reflects one of our comments about those stories inching forward. And again, they have time until the next episode, which is the fifth one of 10. So 5th or 6th episode, things probably start rolling downhill. I mean, things are accelerating, even though time is moving ever so slowly. Sharon D says, it's the uncanny valley, Dave. They're too real for a real robot. Well, they're human looking. And so that's the problem. That's what really gets me. It is like the ventriloquist dummy, right? Because you're thinking, oh, it's a wooden dummy. It's, oh, who cares? That's why we call it a dummy, to make us less afraid, probably. But then they look so lifelike. What if it starts moving? What? Why is it having a full-fledged conversation with Christopher? Why is it yelling like a monster? Exactly. The robot doesn't like the humanoid robot, Sharon D. It's true, I don't like it. Beep, bop, orc. I just want to remind the audience, the reason why this episode is so good is that so much happens in a tiny period of time, and there is momentum, which means usually that there's not too much to talk about. They give you stuff. They give you answers, and things happen. Funny thing that we didn't see in this episode is Dale. I guess they didn't want to pay the actor and the two background actors, Roger and the other woman. So I just wanted to say that out loud. Or Elad, right? Sorry. Elad. Oh, I did want to just drop a pin because it's worth noting that we start the series off with Jim and Tabitha on the rocks. They're having this road trip because they're getting divorced. Yep. And what happens when Jim immediately sees Tabitha?
He kisses her.
No hesitations. They kiss.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just interesting to note this place is healing their relationship.
Well, it played their song on the jukebox. It brought her back the bracelet that she made him. It gives them memories
which Miranda seems to have.
Yeah, that was weird. That whole thing's weird. Well, also the song is the same.
Right. Henry's and Miranda's song is the same.
I'm not sure, but it does seem to be bringing up positive memories that they have with each other, which is turned the relationship around.
Now, the only question remains, are they just doing this to make it that much sweeter when they tear it apart?
Well, I'll give you this, Dave, from real life.
I hate that for them.
Trauma bonding is a strong, solid foundation for a newly married couple.
Are there long-term studies?
Like my husband.
Yeah, are there long-term studies on this?
No, but
I'm just praying for
when
you,
you've been
Bridget.
through
I'm praying
trauma
for you.
together, I feel like, because death of a child trauma is different, and
I was
that
gonna bring
almost
that up.
always ends in divorce.
Tears a relationship apart.
The statistics on that are really startling, but that's why this is interesting, is because that's what was driving them apart. But now that they have to fight for their other kids, it's like bringing them back together. And I feel like if you can
Right,
make it
against
through
all odds.
this together, then the world is nothing. You can make it through anything.
Right, you can do
Yeah.
anything. Well, that's why I brought this up, because it's good to note the differences in the characters over time, too.
Normally an argument about like dinner or something for a couple who hasn't really been through a lot, what could be like a bigger argument. But when you've been through like a lot of stuff and you're like just lucky and thankful that the other person's alive, then you're kind of like, it's not really that big of a deal. We'll just figure it out.
Right. So what if you didn't cut the mushrooms for tonight's
Yeah,
dinner?
it's like, whatever.
So what? This I'm using real life example.
You're
Yeah, okay.
alive and I'm thankful for that. So
I'll do all the cooking. Just be
Yeah.
alive. Cute moment between Ethan and Julie,
mhm.
them learning to rely on each other. The only thing I'll say about that is I hate that you can take from that, oh, is this foreshadowing? Will Jim and Tabitha have to leave their kids alone in some capacity? Because again, this is not Kafka's gun. It is Chekhov's gun. Having had the conversation, it puts it in the ether. Something that we might see. Oh, okay. So this is something that may come up on top of the fact that the officer is sus and Tabitha is sus on the surface level. But the fact that Tabitha came back to begin with, everybody staring at her because she's been gone for a little while. At least now at this point, 5 days instead of 4 days, because she slept over at Henry's
And
house.
also she
whatever.
came back with other people.
She's back. Exactly. She went out to see if she could rescue the children from the tower, quote unquote, or stop this, whatever this thing was previously with the cicadas and the people whose eyes turned white, etc. She never came back. She's back now. Everybody's assuming she died. And so same thing with Randall, because now they don't trust Randall at all. He just survived an encounter with the monsters. What? Tabitha too. She came back. How did she survive the woods, assuming that they think that she was in the woods? Who is this new person? What is this ambulance? What did she bring back? What did she do? Maybe that's why everybody ended up dying the first time, is that they turned on each
I
other.
don't know.
Well, and definitely we know that Christopher turned on the town by collaborating with the monsters by way of Jasper, the dummy, and ratted everybody
Well, that's
out.
our assumption.
Well, that's Victor's assumption.
Well, it's what's been alluded
right?
to. Christopher changed. He wasn't nice anymore. His mom told him to stay away from him.
We know that his mom hid him and Eloise in the root cellar because it was not their usual spot,
Yes.
because it was the one thing she knew that if Christopher didn't know that, he couldn't tell her theory, the monsters, where they were and be able to kill them. So there may be something to that. There may not be, but at least it saved Victor. So this is the one thing I do have in my notes regarding that specifically. Could it be because there was nothing around for Victor to bury with regards to Christopher? Where is Christopher?
I don't know.
Is he still alive? It's just something to think
I
about.
don't know.
It's the one thing that was not buried. Jade does hallucinate him at one point. So take from that what you will. I don't know what to say about
I
that.
don't know.
And maybe collaborating with the monsters makes it so that you join them? Fatima? Just kidding. Yeah, no, she didn't collaborate with the monsters. She has one in her belly. It's a kind of a symbiotic relationship. By the way, I just want to say this as a side note. I love Boyd's reactions to everything. It's so not dramatic. He's like, F you, gah. It's not over the top. It's just like a human reacting to this
Yes.
place. And I love it so much. It's such a stark contrast to everybody on this series, which is why I like his character so much. When he gets in Donna's face, he says something to the effect of, get the F out. This is in the last episode or the second episode. Get the F out of here. like, yes, that's what I would say. F out of here. So, okay. So Sharon says, so is Ellis an undercover monster? No, Sharon, no.
No,
I'm
but
Christopher Walken.
they lost one monster and maybe they need to replace it
With the monster
with
baby?
a monster baby.
Or Elgin is the monster baby? He just doesn't know it yet.
That doesn't make any sense, but okay.
It doesn't. But he is wearing a crow shirt, so he's guilty.
Chris is the milkman,
Okay.
Sharon said.
Yeah, so I was thinking it must be one of them. He must be one of the monsters. But yeah, and it could be the milkman. Sure. It's definitely not the gas station attendant. He's a hulking beast. Have you seen that guy? the actor that's playing young Victor is clearly having a growth spurt too.
Well, so is Ethan.
Well, yeah, but Ethan still has that baby
does,
face,
but
so it's kind of undetectable.
He's much taller.
Yes, the young Victor is definitely much taller.
No, Ethan is. I'm saying like the way they're filming him. They keep like filming him like seated.
Okay.
He's like way taller.
Right. These poor kids. These poor kids. I just hope they don't get S. And I don't want them to get recast. Even the young Victor.
They're
think
great.
he's perfect
They're really good.
for the role
They're
too.
really, really good.
He has such a look about him.
Yeah, he's got like a look where you're like, that kid's recognizable.
A Victor look.
No, he kind of reminds me of like Finn Wolfhard or whatever his name is from Stranger Things.
Yeah,
he's got like that.
I think that's right.
It's like the fair skin and the dark hair and
the shaggy, floppy hair. Right. Yeah. No, I agree. And that's the thing. And he still wears the goofy shirts too. Yeah. I don't know if the pockets are at his stomach, but it's still like that 80s, 70s, 80s look. Sharon D says the same thing. He looks like Will from Stranger Things.
That's not who I'm talking about.
Oh, that's Will Byers. Yeah. No, he looks more like Finn Wolf. He wears Will Byers clothes, but it's Finn Wolfhard. Yeah. It's Finn Wolfhard in Will Byers
clothes. Yeah.
Clothes. There we solved it.
I did want to mention one thing. We just didn't talk about the conversation at the cabins. I thought it was nice that, well, it was awkward that they were talking about it in front of Jade. I'm glad that Kenny expressed how alone he feels now.
Full-throatedly,
even
right.
Though Chrissy is saying, like, I'm there for you. She really can't be in the way that he needs and wants her to be.
I'm glad, too.
I'm glad that he got to, like, say his piece out loud. And then I really liked that he told Jade, Tian-Chen loved you.
Yeah. And the writing letters to the dead on high holidays. Yeah. That was cool, too. Yeah. A cool bit of culture, but plus it keeps Tian-Chen in the atmosphere.
It does, yeah.
And then the flourish. Jade saying, you finish that letter and tell her we said hi. Effing Jade. I mean, it's really the actor. Come on, it's the actor.
He's great. He really is.
I actually just got shivers. I don't know what it is. David Alpay, I think is his name, right?
I actually have no idea.
I hate falling for you, David. I hate falling for you. Not another David. This is a new one for me. Charity says, Tabitha will be his new mom. Kenny's mom, I think is what he means. And she says that Jade is Thomas. Is that what you're saying? A Thomas for her.
No, Kenny.
No, Kenny? Yeah. Well, okay. So one thing I did note, not in my notes, but as I was watching was like, wait a second. The Matthews are still living in Tian-Chen Lu's house with Kenny. So yes, you're right. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yes. She lost a son. He lost his mom.
That's quite nice, actually.
Jim and Tabitha lost Thomas. Kenny is motherless and fatherless. We saw both of them die on the series. So yeah. Well, and then Kenny's father spiritually is kind of Boyd. One of the things that I did see in this episode that I didn't think I'd get to bring up at the beginning of the episode, when Ethan is rifling through some of Victor's drawings that he dropped in frustration when he was yelling at him. This is not game anymore. People die here. And then he goes to Sara. Right. He digs up the suitcase, goes to Sarah's house, which was one of his favorite houses. He does mention in this episode. Upstairs is for daytime stories. Downstairs is for secrets. Anyway, one of the two drawings that Ethan is rifling through, one is of 3 girls or women that are sitting amongst a bunch of roses or some sort of red flower. And there's a shadowy figure in the side. That's not the one I want to comment on. I just thought it was noteworthy. The second one is of what we presume to be Victor and Eloise in a blanket fort with candles around them, presumably also in the basement. This is what Ethan's looking at as one of his Victor's drawings. But we saw the younger Eloise. I don't think she had blonde hair. Sara does have blonde hair. This is what I'm saying about some of the drawings sometimes. And maybe it's just the fact that themes repeat in this place, maybe. So I just thought it was very interesting and strange, or maybe that Victor always thought this was going to happen. We also have to remember that also Victor's present drawings are still drawn like a toddler. That could have been drawn at any time.
As someone who interacts with children pretty regularly, these are like the drawings of like a 6-7-year-old.
Oh, sorry, I was being extreme, but yes, somebody who's in elementary school.
Yeah, it's early elementary school, because prior to that, kids draw like
early education
circles with like sticks, and then circles with more sticks, and that's like your hand. You know, it was like a circle and then like sticks coming off.
With 5 tiny sticks.
Yeah, or like a circle, which is your head, but then you don't have a body, you just have legs coming off of you. Like that's what like
you're just a head with legs and arms. Or even if you're lucky, arm. Yeah. So, and that's what I just wanted to keep in mind, is that he could have maybe thought of contacting Sara, and that's his drawing. So it didn't have to be of him and Eloise.
Yeah.
This is what he plans on doing. Left it for Ethan. Maybe he's drawing plans, ideas that he has. Worth noting because you couldn't fault me in our first season recap for thinking, oh, Victor's divining the future. He's seeing things in the future. He's making premonitions. Like, well, no, maybe the theme is repeating. Maybe he has an idea about what he wants to do next. Maybe he's writing things down as he says to remember.
And his mom was drawing her premonitions. So there was some of that happening.
Oh, damn you, because now I'm back on that track. God
Well,
damn
I mean,
it.
he says, I draw things that I've seen so I can remember. But we don't know.
Right.
Is he seeing them in a dream and he's drawing them and then do they come true? Like Elgin had a
it's
dream
true.
about the town before he got... Anyway, we don't know.
Hallucinations, visions,
Yeah.
dreams. Yeah, all of those things can apply. That's all we got, folks. For an episode that has a ton of momentum, it is dense. There's a lot of little things that we picked up along the way. And I know we missed some things, but just in case, head on over to ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead. 5 stars and crayon is all we need to know that you love us. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like. Tell us what we might have missed that we can comment on in the next episode and on social media. Just remember to tell us after every single episode. It really, really helps. Leave a like on this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and leave a comment. But if you really like what we're doing, and I should have said this at the top of the show, but I didn't. I said it at the top of the first show. We are actually broke. Essentially, we're broke. We can't afford technically to pay for another week's worth of editing. We happen to be recording 2 episodes a week, one of which our editor Veton does take care of, the other which I do. So we're trying to be efficient with our funds. That being said, we don't have any funds left. At the beginning of September, we increased the cost of our membership tiers. And as a result of inaction when it came to current members, many folks got canceled because they did not adjust their membership tier pledges. Some people still stuck around by the grace of Ko-fi. Essentially, they're on their current membership tier, but at the lower price that they were at before. But the end result is pretty drastic, and we don't have too much coming in. If you do like this podcast, first of all, tip us on Ko-fi. That's ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. Join a membership tier or rejoin a membership tier on either Ko-fi or patreon.com/squawkingdead. Starting at $4 a month, you can join the Walkers tier, which gives you forever access. Even if you disjoin the tier later on, you're still going to have Discord access, but you'll have more access to more channels than one normally would when they tip. If you happen to join the Whisperers tier, you'll be able to get 50% off in the merch store, a free classic t-shirt after 3 months, the ability to join us on screen with us when we're playing Jackbox Games live streams, the ability to join us in our live news breakdowns, usually from conventions, but not limited to. These could be also reaction episodes. If there is something that we want to react live with you, you can join the other side of the screen with us, engaging with the audience on your thoughts about the thing that we happen to be talking about or breaking down. If you happen to join the Survivors and Great M tier, you can join us on screen for our episode breakdowns. You're one of those junior hosts that we have talked about classically. And if you happen to join the Great M tier, you will have the ability to join our core channel, which is where we talk about the things that we can't say to even our audience in our Discord channels. You're basically a producer. You'll get that free classic t-shirt immediately. You can join us on screen. You'll be a part of the action. But I will say this much. It's good that we left this at the end of the episode because I have issued a challenge to what was once current members and also folks who are interested in joining a membership tier before the end of this month. If you happen to join a membership tier or update your pledge, so current and new members, there are some prize packs that I talked about on Ko-fi, basically a sign-on bonus. So instead of a free classic t-shirt when you join the Whispers tier or the Great M or Survivors tier, you'll get a free hoodie instead of a free classic t-shirt. And you'll also get a free promo pack that includes a variety of different stickers, pins, keychain that we've been making for the past year and collecting for our convention visits. I'll be personally mailing that to you. All tiers will get the promo pack. The Whispers, Survivors, and Great M tier will get the free hoodie instead of the free classic t-shirt. And this is just from now until the end of October. This is when the bills are due, basically. So the challenge has been issued. More on this is in a post on our Ko-fi page. It's titled, "This is Our Last Resort," because I was thinking of Papa Roach. It's like this This is our last resort.
Suffocation.
So yeah,
No
this is
bleeding.
our last resort.
I can't sing at all right now.
I blame myself for making you want to sing.
Don't. Yeah, I can't remember the next words.
Don't give a F if I cut my arm bleeding. This is my last resort. Yeah, all that's staying in.
That's
So
fine.
you know. The details are there. The explanation is there. Reference links are there to the post that we left before September 1st, advising folks to change their membership tiers or update their pledges. It's all laid out there. So check that post out. I'll leave a link to it wherever. Grim news, but happy ending. I've been your host, David Cameo, and I was joined by Bridget, aka Punky Brewster, who you can find on ko-fi.com/PUNKYBRUISETER. Give her some little well wishes. And I love you too, Sharon D, in the chat.
Yeah,
Thank you
love
for
you,
joining us
Sharon D.
and leaving us some interesting insights. And with that, our next episode of From is the 5th episode. It's the right in the middle part of it. Hopefully we'll have enough money by next week to edit it. That really depends on you. We'll be talking about the 4th episode of The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. Look, it's so dark. Look at Bridget. It's so dark. She's getting ready to go.
I am.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you very soon. And hopefully good news will be coming around the corner, both on From and for this podcast. Bridget, sing the words. This is our
My
last resort.